Welcome back to Poetry and Police. Remember to subscribe and share to my channel. Click that like and click the bell so you can get every video that I posted on a daily basis. Now, people, let us talk. I'm an ex-police officer. I was a no-nonsense police officer. And I have a wealth of knowledge about policing and crime in Jamaica. And my experience is vast, and nothing troubles me, really. And I am not easily affected by certain things. Now, people, when I say that I'm not easily affected by certain things, let us talk plain and straight right now. This gangster, so-called gangster, called Termite, that was cut down by the police. Now, his funeral procession, or most people might say, as other bloggers are saying, that Termite got a state funeral, or what appeared to be a state funeral. No. As a former police officer, as a former detective, former supervisor, head of station, it is always the job of a supervisor at the police level to ensure that whenever a gangster is being buried, that the funeral procession is properly covered by the police, especially if the gangster that was killed did some kind of done. No. The badder the gangster, or the more notorious the gangster was, the more police escort for the funeral. And you know why we do that? We do that to prevent further breaches of the peace. Because most of these gangsters' funeral always come with a whole lot of uncontrollable people on the street in terms of traffic, and whole heap of gun salute, breaches of the peace and all of that. Especially, like I said to you, especially if the gangster is very notorious. Now, let's say, assume that Termite is one of those gangsters who was very notorious. Then as a result of his notoriety, it simply means that the police presence in the funeral escort will have to be more. You understand me now, people? Don't be twisted and don't get mixed up. You if you remember that I was a police officer. And with every senior officer of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and even regular police officers who understand supervision and understand these things and understand the nature of activities that can happen at a gangster's funeral, we would not look at the amount of police escort as anything out of the ordinary. Police escort most funerals in terms of traffic and such. A regular funeral, you would probably have 2 bike men, right? When you're escorting a gangster like Termite, you have to have ample amount of police officers to cover the funeral until it reaches the burial ground. I'm telling you that. And it is a security measure. So a whole lot of people are now looking at Termite's funeral as a state funeral. People, I don't care what nobody wants to say about my opinion that I'm about to express, but I don't see I do not see the police present at Termite's funeral as a state funeral or no lionization of the gangster. Listen, what you need to understand, first and foremost, police mash him up. Right? And I am sure that any detective will agree with me that once a boy gets slapped by police, he's also charged in debt. You understand me? In charge in debt, can charge for shooting at the police. So he's a prisoner. So Termite died a prisoner. And now he's going to his grave, to the dirt. He's going as a prisoner. in the eyes of the police, or in my eyes as a experienced detective. I want prisoner that I go bury. So if police are escort him to his last final resting cell, because we now say resting place, in last final resting cell, I don't care 100 police are escort him. That is that tough as far as I am concerned. That is not a state funeral, and it could never be any. You know, there's a saying, you know, that the eyes are the windows to your mind, to your very soul. And what people see affects them negatively or positively. But do not be, in this case, do not be tricked by your eyes. There's another saying that believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. So this is the case where do not feel like because you see 100 police in the motorcade at Termite's funeral, meaning that they are escorting him, or they are there to make him look like he's a state representative and he's getting a state funeral. No, people, that is not the case. For me, I don't care what nobody wants to say. Me, I'm no bandwagonist. I mean, I express my opinion honestly, how me see the thing, because I have supervised funeral before, and me wish me had more police to send to the funeral, because you know what? Funerals like Termite's funeral, a beer man have a strap up. And they want the dog to go down in a gun salute. So if there's no police there, brethren, tell me the amount of breaches of the peace that you are going to find on that street, on that specific day, or even at the funeral home, or even going to the cemetery, the amount of disrespect to law and order that is going to happen. You are going to need a whole lot of police, especially a funeral like Termite, where the turnout is going to be magnanimous, or is going to be huge. It is going to be a major Termite turnout for this notorious gangster. So you are going to need the amount of police, the strength of police, in order to control the motorcade and to control these people from finding one bag of gunshots. Because this is the norm, you know. And whenever a gangster bury, you know, pay a gun salute. So with the police present, that can't happen. And more police present, meaning less of that happening. So, people, I am sorry for the bloggers who are talking about state funeral, and it looked like he's getting a state funeral. But come on, as a detective, an ex-police officer, even serving member of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, look upon that. The man is, like I said to you, his final resting, it is not his final resting place, it's his final resting cell. So police is just there to ensure that the funeral goes peacefully and that no breaches of the peace occurs and no gun salute no occur. Now, when we are going to say Termite got a state funeral based off the amount of police that you see, a state funeral is one in which, like a police funeral or a governor general funeral or prime minister funeral, and so we are talking about a policeman funeral, which you call a state funeral or whatever. Police all get gun salute at the end of the day, legal gun salute, send him down like a hero. Termite not get none of that. And the thing about it, by the presence of the police, it prevented his cronies from sending him down to his final resting cell with gun salutes. And that is the job of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. So people, don't be shaded, don't be jaded, don't be misdirected by anybody that is telling you that a state funeral. Because as far as I'm concerned, me not see no state funeral. All me see is a cockroach being dragged to his final resting cell. Me not see nothing more than that. All me see is a nobody being buried, mashed up by police, taken out by police, sent to the departure lounge by police, and now escorted to the departure lounge by police. I don't care if I could have 1 million police, better for the community. Because you know what? These gunmen, whenever they are buried, their dons, nothing but ends a gunshot, nothing but violation on the street. There will be no good behavior on the street during the funeral procession. What you think one little two-bike man could have managed that? Me ask you a question, and I want to know if you answer me. Honestly, especially the police officers on my channel, you think that two-bike police who could escort a normal person's funeral could manage Termite's funeral with all of them gangsters that will probably strap and a fire and disrespect people on the road in traffic and plus fire one bag of gunshot in gun salute? You think two traffic police could have do that? The other thing where people need to learn and understand that funeral is a business. And I remember when my a family member died in America here and was being buried, you could pay the funeral home based off the amount of police that you want for the escort. So if you wanted 10 police officers, you would have to pay the funeral home for that. And the funeral home would get it from the police, the escort from the police department. So even in Jamaica it happens too. Okay, if you call up the super and say you bury a man and you want 20 police at the funeral and the money is right, he will send the police officers that are the next thing. It's a business. So who cares if the funeral want to look like state funeral? The fact of the matter is, he was not buried as a member of state. He buried as a little dirty common boy, a street side boy, one little dirty cockroach where police mash up. You understand? Who's only lionized and respected by his peers, respected and lionized by the worst of our society. That is how I look at it. I don't see a state member being buried. I don't care what nobody want to say it looks like. It's not what it looks like. What it was or what it is. A common boy I bury. And we know so when common boy I bury them done a straight gunshot and straight disrespect to law and order on the road. So the more police, the less incidents. I wonder if you get me drift, people. So don't be confused. Viewers and subscribers, don't be confused. And don't let nobody spin your minds to say Termite got a state funeral. He got what appeared to be a state funeral in the eyes of foolish people. But in the eyes of police officers, we escort him to him private, to him final resting cell. We are rejoicing because he's no more. We are rejoicing because he can't come on the street, can't shoot nobody else and commit no more crime. That police now have to deal with the likes of that cockroach anymore. That is what we are rejoicing. And if 1 million police have to go there to ensure, say yes, this germs is put down in the ground properly, no problem with that. I don't see it as letting the country look any way or letting the police department look shining in the light and the police department in any negative way. Remember, people, members of the Jamaica Constabulary Forces, not everybody works in a supervisory position. And if you might be a sergeant, but you probably not even know your job, you're probably a corporal or inspector, you probably not know your job. But I can assure you this, that once a gangster is buried in any police area, that the police has to put something in place to ensure that the funeral is escorted out of the area to avoid incident. Not to make the prisoner, not to make the deceased criminal or the deceased cockroach look good, but rather to prevent any unlawful incidents from occurring. That's basically what the police is there for. Understand? That is what the police is there for. And a gangster like Termite, his funeral commands a larger group of police to do that funeral, because it's going to be a large funeral, and which poses more threat for illegal activities, gun salutes and traffic violations to occur. So the police presence has to be more to ensure the peace. No, I am not saying that some unscrupulous politicians might talk to the super at the station and say, boy, put some more man out there. I am not saying that. I'm not saying that. But at the end of the day, the police job at a funeral is not to escort the dead. It was never. It was always to ensure that the procession goes without any incidents, especially illegal incidents. Now, in a policeman's funeral, a state funeral, that is a different kettle of fish. They're represented by it's a different kettle of fish altogether. The reasons are different. If you're burying a peaceful person, the reasons are different because the police will not be there to stop illegal activities, but just to ensure that the procession moves out of the area properly. But at a gangster's funeral, more police, the better. Especially a cockroach like termite. So people, do not be led astray. Everybody has their own opinion, and this is my opinion of the whole situation, and I will not change it for anybody. I am not a bandwagonist. I do not follow other people's opinion. I have my own opinion, but I also respect other people's opinion. And personally, or with experience as a police officer, I do not see any issue with the amount of police that were assigned to Termite's funeral procession. All I see is police maintaining the peace at a funeral that anything can kick off at any time. Because them ya boy, when them decide them are send down them done, them decided to fire gunshot. You think 1, 2 or 3 police can, 4 or 5 police can stop them from beat up gunshot in the air. And police probably all up lose all their life to call police are gonna try step in and try stop it or not. So have no fear, viewers and subscribers, people of Jamaica, have no fear. Do not think about this funeral and the police present at Termite funeral as no state escort. It was never a state escort. It was merely the police carrying out their duties and the instructions of a supervisor who has personal knowledge that what could happen at a funeral like that. So I need to put more police on the funeral. And I have no issue with that. Even if the senior officer whosoever was paid to attach more police to the funeral, well, better for law and order, better for the law-abiding citizens of the country who exist or who lives in the area where that motorcade has to pass through. With more police, the people were able to access a peaceful day with any happenings of that funeral when that funeral procession was passing through. So I am not convinced that he was given a state funeral. Other bloggers do convince, they are saying that. I am not saying that. I disagree totally. All I see is police officers ensuring that a cockroach is buried without incidents. And if I was a part of the team who had sent that cockroach to the departure lounge, I would be glad to be there to ensure that, yes, him really dead for true and him really gone down in that hole to spend eternity as a prisoner in his final resting cell. I am not afraid to express my opinion and what I think honestly. And when I say foolishness is foolishness. Every done in a Jamaica, every gunman funeral in a Jamaica, some of them are not even done, but once a gunman or them a part of a gang, you have to have police presence, and it requires more presence of the police than a regular funeral. Especially when a big top of the Dana bury. No, you have to have enough police presence. Whole heap of vehicle. I heard some people talking about the government can't even find vehicle to send out for disputes and stuff like that. Well, you need to remember, people, that at the regular station level, it is a unit at the station who deals with things in their area. So sometimes you will have shortage of units. All right? But when you have a funeral that for a done, say Termite, in this case we are talking about his funeral, and anything can pop off at any time, violence can escalate at any time, then now the senior officer at the station would request a certain amount of people that he feels, that he deems fit to deal with that kind of funeral. So therefore people will be pulled from different areas to deal with the funeral, not necessarily the police area where the funeral has been taking place, but rather officers may be pulled from mobile reserve and other places where we can beef up the police activity during that funeral. So that is the way it goes. So don't get it twisted, people, and don't be confused. If an area is assigned to police vehicle and that is it, that is all we have in the area for police work. But with a funeral, then you're going to call units from every other areas to assist other police stations, to assist other areas where they are to assist us. So that is why the extra amount of units are there. It's not a regular day anymore. It's a planned duty. It's not a regular day-to-day thing. It's a planned duty. And the onus is on the supervisor on the ground to say, listen, Commissioner. This Dan is being buried, and I think I'm going to need about 20 police to deal with the magnitude of a funeral, to deal with so we can prevent any breaches of the Firearm Act and breach of the Traffic Act and other breaches, to prevent violence on a wide scale at this funeral. Because gunmen funeral are like that, especially when them vex. So them boss dead, trust me, are the worst kind of funeral those are the worst kind of funerals that I have ever experienced being a policeman. That is the worst kind of funeral. It's nothing that you cannot send a few police to a funeral like that and then they are overwhelmed by gunmen. Because we all know, people, even the regular civilian out the road are going to know. So once I done a bury like that, and 50% of the crowd are going to be gunmen. So the police will be, if you send only 5 police out there, they will be numbered 5 to about 100 or more. Because you have to understand that when a boy like that dead and a bury, it's not just gunmen from his area is coming, It's other gunmen from other communities that they have ties and links to will be in attendance at that funeral. And trust me, I go tell you, me sure 100% a man a go strap. Man a go straps. You can't use 5 police, you can't use 10 police. The amount of police presence at those funerals are based off the magnitude of attendance, or the magnitude of people that are attending the funeral, and again too, the magnitude of criminals that you believe will attend that funeral. So don't get this twisted. People of Jamaica, my loyal subscribers and viewers, do not let anybody mislead you by telling you that, oh, he got a state funeral. No, this man did not get a state funeral as far as I am concerned. All I saw was a criminal being laid to his final resting cell. Termite is no more. He was never a state person. He died a criminal and he has been buried as a criminal. But when you need to understand that even though he was a criminal to the police, he was a Don, a person in high esteem by his followers, by his friends, by his family. So far, they are going to bury him as such. So what the police presence did is prevented them from burying him as some kind of Don. To allow them not to gun salute him, to allow them not to violate the peace during his funeral. And I agree with whosoever set up the funeral procession that this is what needs to happen, that this boy no need to go down like I make them go and let them, this boy don't need to go down like no Dan. This boy needs to be very humble. And police presence is the only thing that can stop that from happening. So I did not see a state funeral, people. Whosoever think they saw a state funeral, come again. On the wrong. All I saw was a cockroach being buried with the necessary precautions taken by the Jamaica Constabulary Force to ensure that no illegal activities or unlawful incidents occur during that funeral procession and burial. I see nothing else. And I am not going to tell a man, say, boy, I know that him see. If a man express his opinion, that is what he sees. That is what he sees. But as an experienced police officer, that is not what I saw. And I'm not going to tell you that I see that because I didn't see that. I'm already glorified by the job that the police did to take out this cockroach. I'm not going to let anything change that. Because in the end of the day, he has gone to the departure lounge. Like with the young police, like Chris Porter that say, he gone to the departure lounge. So why worry? Why worry? Why worry about looks and what it looks like when he's being buried? I don't worry about that. And I don't have to worry about looks when my knowledge of the profession don't tell me already. Say as a supervisor, I would have assigned all the strength I could to this funeral to prevent any unlawful incidents. And that's it. So if you're not a police officer and you think that he was given a state funeral with taxpayers' money, no, that was not the case. This was a case of police being very cautious and protective of the general public, because these funerals can get very violent and these funerals can get very unruly, and these funerals can even lead to shootout and police death and people death. Because when boy want bury them down with gunshot and police is there, a few police is there, them feel like them can do anything and get away with it. But in a nutshell, people, I will reiterate what I said to you before, what I have been saying throughout this whole video, that in my opinion, this funeral was overwhelmed with police, not to make Termite's funeral appear to be one of a state funeral, but rather to ensure that the peace is maintained throughout the funeral. We have to remember, see, a police take him out, you know. And if you send a few police, then you can have people retaliate against police. And then we're going to help them. You see, I am happy that the police showed up at this boy's funeral in such in this magnitude. Because it shows that, yo, listen, we are done here, we are come at your funeral, come finish, put you down. It shows that, yo, we are going to take you out of the society, and we are going to ensure so you leave the society. We are going to ensure so you leave. We are there as witness. The whole force is there to say, yes, you're gone down in the ground. You are no more. You will not be committing any more crimes in Jamaica. You're gone home to Jamaica. You have to commit crime for yourself down a hell right now. And that is the message the police send to Termite's followers and cronies, you know, and associates, you know, by saying that, listen me, we send him to the departure lodge and we are here to send him to his final resting cell. Go home. Commit crime no more. Go and go get Satan trouble. And that the police presence are saying. The police presence are saying, are we in charge of this? Are we control this? Are we run the country? And law and order run the country. So I see when they dress him up like a 5-star general. I bury him like a soldier. Well, I guess he's a soldier, you know, because everybody call himself a soldier. Whether you are a gangster, you can call yourself a soldier because you are part of a team, you are a part of a battalion. Then I guess he's one of the criminal soldiers them. And in no doubt, if the police was not there, trust me, the amount of gunshot that fire down at that. If you send him home with gun salute, if you send him home with the respect that they wanted to send him home with, but because of the police presence, him have to go home humble. You only can dress up like you're a soldier, like you're a 5-star, but you can't go down like one. And if you are going to construe the amount of police at his funeral as if he went down as a state funeral, like a some 5-star general or some prime minister, no, so I don't see that. I don't believe that was the intent of the police. I don't think that was the intent of whosoever organized that funeral, because that funeral has to be properly organized and members have to be pulled from various different divisions to help. So as to have the police area covered at the same time. It is a planned funeral. It has to be planned by the police. You can't just send 2 men to a funeral. You have to plan the thing and say this is the magnitude of people that we are expecting at this funeral, and these are the things that could possibly happen at this funeral. People, you see, I use sleep and mark that, you know. My experience is far and wide in the Jamaica Constabulary Force, even though I was young, but I had experience enough to take me through the rest of my life in relation to crime and violence in Jamaica and the rest of the world. Because, like I have said in one of my videos before, there was a gangster's funeral in the Huntsby here at one point, and the Huntsby police station was not informed of the funeral by the Adventist Church by Hagley Park Road. And the Honorable Peter Phillips was also at the funeral in attendance without informing Superintendent Amos that he was there. And here it is in the police division. There's a gangster being buried, but this gangster was not killed by police. He was killed by gunmen. So at this funeral, there was no police officers present, and the Huntsby police station was not informed that a gangster was being buried in our division. And the Right Honorable Peter Phillips did not inform the police officers that he would have been there. And you know what happened, people? The same gangsters who murdered this gangster left jungle all the way from jungle, and came at Huntsby Hagley Park Road, and trust me, people, over 200 gunshots were fired. At the funeral, the church was shut up. The hearse was shut up, the coffin, everything. So then came and put him down again, even though he was in the coffin. And there was no police on the scene to help. Peter Phillips' bodyguard was scrambling all over the place. My unit was close by. We heard the gunshot was in York Avenue area, and we responded to the shoot, and we got a piece of the shootout with the men, but they were escaping at that time. Luckily, nobody was killed. Now, let me tell you something. If the supervisor at the station, or the area where this Don was coming from, or this gunman was coming from, would have sent a proper police presence to follow this funeral, that shooting would have been prevented. And if the Huntsby police was informed and put some strength on the funeral, that would have been prevented. So I'm saying all of this to say this, that more police at a gangster's funeral is better than a few, especially a gangster like Termite. Worst case scenario, he was killed by the police. The revenge will be against the police and not the dead man in the casket like at Hagley Park Road. So I am saying that people do not be misled. People will draw conclusion of all situations. Bloggers will draw all kind of conclusions, even bloggers without any experience of policing. And yet you will even find bloggers who have experience in policing will follow these drifting tales, or follow these things that they see with the naked eyes, and not thinking about the situation behind the whole thing. That the scenario is different, because when a gangster is being buried, we need good police present, especially a notorious gangster. That is all I am saying to you. We need that. And as a past supervisor, and any supervisor will tell you that the more police at a gangster's funeral is better for the community, are better for all the communities, where the funeral is passing through, or even better for the motorists on the street. Because trust me, them a boy and a rampeteer gunshot and fire shot and go on with one bag of violent activities on the street when their gangster friends are being buried. That is all I am saying to you.